The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. Keep your mission on your mind and your mind on your mission. This is Mission Minded with Michael Coleman.
Time to keep your mind, your mission on your mind. He is Michael Coleman, the CEO of the Heart of Alabama Food Bank, adjusting his computer over there to make sure he looks as handsome as he could possibly be. I'm Tony Kurre, and of course...
I need all the help I can get, brother.
Right, brother. We got a face for this radio thing. I've been doing radio forever, right. And then all of a sudden people are like, hey, I bet you need some visual stuff. So people do like to watch as well. This is a business show, and then coming up here early March, March 2nd is our target date. We're going to be on 101.1 The Truth, which is terrestrial. A lot of people are asking the question, why are you going back to terrestrial? I've always loved terrestrial radio. It's great to be able to get in the car. I know you can do that by touching stuff, but people our age don't always know about how to get through the internet, know about apps and all that other stuff. And listen, anytime you can be on the good old radio, it's a good thing. And it's on an FM stick. And the other thing is it's the biggest antenna in the state of Alabama. If we're going to go, we're going big. We're not starting off some podunk little thing in Tupelo. We're going all out. And we're going to be proclaiming the word of the Lord. And if we're doing that, we need to be on the biggest stick, in the state. So we're going to be starting that a little bit later on in March. First of all, how are you? I missed you last week. I had a couple things going on. But I missed you. And it will give us a chance to pick back up where we left off a couple weeks ago. But how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well. We've been very blessed so far in the food banking world, but societal challenges are at every turn and every corner, and as how it affects business, the economy. I hate it that we've already rolled into an election season, and so everything shuts down because all they do is argue. Each side doesn't want to give the other any sort of win or any sort of momentum, and so. The thing that we talked about week before last was about this thing of affordability. Mm-hmm. And that Democrats were trying to come up with the messaging, and they tried several different things. And it looks like affordability is kind of sticking. And it really that's nothing new. Going all the way back to the old "It's the economy, stupid," was what James Carville told Bill Clinton years ago. You focus on the economy because while we each have issues that we care about, whether it be social issues, whether it be other issues that in our society that matter to us, national, international, all those things affect us, but everybody is always about bottom line. What's my household look like? What's my ability to be able to pay my bills, to make a living? And so that's always your highest percentage of interest in any election. And so they've started hammering this. They ain't gotten into a lot of specifics yet, but they're just talking about the overall process. And so you and I were talking like, well, when we say affordability, what exactly are we talking about? And what exactly are the things that we can look at to make an evaluation for ourselves as to how our economy is affecting us? Because listen to a business show. I remember early on in my life, I was interested in knowing these things, but they were throwing out terms, mm-hmm. and things like that we say, oh, everybody knows what inflation is, but the reality is, you throw out affordability, and then you throw out inflation, and then you throw out recession, and you throw out how does interest rates connect to that, all that, and you're constantly being bombarded with news and reports, and you're like, how does all this fit together? How am I supposed to determine? Other than just my own bottom line. Yeah,
the truth of the matter is it all works together, and it has to work together. And that's why we talk about the interest rates and why it's not such a good idea to drop interest rates, because if we do that, it adds inflation. And obviously presidents want that. There's not been a president out there that has not wanted to have an interest rate loaded, because that means people can borrow money and they don't have to pay as much on it. And everyone gets richer and richer, but eventually we have to pay it off. And we also mentioned 2 weeks ago while we were on the air, we just went past the $38 trillion mark in our debt. And I got
You say that like it's a lot of money.
I got 3 kids, and I can remember it being like 20 trillion or something when I was in high school. And they're like, are we going to put this on our kids? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, are you going to put that on me, brother? When I was 13 or 14. Well, here I am 60 now. And we're just kicking the can down the street. I don't know. I can't, maybe we could do an entire show on this. Maybe we could do that on The Truth, our first show. I would like to know the last time that number stopped. It actually went backwards a little bit. I don't know what the date is. If someone could please call us, info@TonyCurryRadio.net. Tell me at what point did that, because you can go to the debt right now and it's just scrolling. It makes your eyes. When was the last time that actually stopped and rolled back just a little bit? Because I've never seen it. But anyway, we'll get to that.
I think there was one time after the Republicans took over Congress and Clinton was in presidency, the economy boomed, and both parties got to reap some benefits from that. And you could make an argument that both parties played an integral part in that. And I think there was one year where interest rates were. There was a little bit of cooking in the books, but the bottom line is we were bringing in almost as much, if I remember this correctly, for a short period. Now, I would tell you, we have months now to where we have more coming in than we're spending out. But as a whole, we're running large deficits every year.
Yeah.
And then, our just the interest that we have to pay on that debt is about $1 trillion. Now, I don't want to get too technical about it because people go, well, that's, we have a, $4 million budget, $1 million that's going just to pay interest on the debt. However, lots of times people say it's relative. Now, I'll be the first to say this is not sustainable forever. But as your economy grows, what they look at oftentimes is your debt related to your GDP. Mm-hmm. And so while we obviously owe the most out of anybody, you look at our economy's the strongest by far of anywhere in the world. I mean, they were celebrating in Europe a 0.3% growth. Just to have anything positive. Well, the last few quarters we've been over 4, and there's talk. It's not come out officially yet that this next quarter is going to show over 5%. So we are dominating by far the economy compared to others in the world. So we tend to go, okay, well, we have this huge debt, we're paying this, but as it relates to our economy, as it relates to the percentage of GDP, right now it's not crippling our economy.
I'm going to dumb this down real quick because I'm a dumb guy. It's business for dumb guys. Radio business shows for dumb guys. That's why I'm on the show, because I'm learning from you and not from myself. But I am making $70,000 a year, and my budget comes out to about $65,000 a year. I can put just a little away, and now all of a sudden I've got myself this booming economy, which means I'm making an additional $30,000. Why in the hell are we not paying off those credit cards then? Because I'm up to the hilt with credit cards. I'm up to my butt in debt. I got 3 car payments. I own a student loan. I've got 4 or 5 different other credit cards that are maxed out. I got a $30,000 bump. And what am I going to do? I'm probably going to go out and trade my car in for something a little nicer. I'm going to start eating Fleming's instead of McDonald's. That's the only question I would say, because that's what we're taught in our entire life. You finally make a little more money. Okay, our economy's booming. Why can't we take some of that money then and sink it back in? And I'll tell you why. It's insurmountable. You've talked about it in the Jimmy Hell mission. If you owe $20,000 to somebody and you get a $500 check, are you going to give them half of that? No.
Yeah.
You're going to go, you know what? Because I can barely make a dent in that. I could put $100 towards $38 trillion. And so you're like, I'm going to wait until a bigger piece comes in that I can actually pay them off. And it never happens. It rarely doesn't happen. So that's my dummy for business. Well, that's how I see it.
I don't want to mix those two things up. So let me say this. Unfortunately, probably fortunately, we can't individually print money. States can't print money. That's all done by the Federal Reserve. And there's monetary policy, and then there's Federal Reserve policy. I mean, there's the Treasury and what it can do, and then there's monetary policy that's established by the Fed. They control interest rates, and they're independent. So you're right. States have to balance budgets, or they have to pay back. Where sometimes you get this quantitative easy. Like I said, I don't want to make it too technical because it gets boring pretty quick. But the bottom line is, I will tell you, when you get into affordability, like you said, that's what people say is, can I take care of my basic needs without a financial strain? So let's use that example you came up with. So here's a hypothetical. You're making $70,000 a year, but you have $65,000 in expenses. So you have very little buffer. A major car repair, you have to replace your HVAC, whatever, any of those kind of things will suck up all of that's left over. So you live under the constant strain of it. And so what people oftentimes, unfortunately, so I'm bringing this down to the individual level and not government level. What we want to do individually is go, well, I want better conditions. I want to make more money. I want to do all those kind of things. But lots of times when that comes along, so, okay, let's say for whatever reason, you own a business and you're making $70,000 and the economy gets good. And now all of a sudden you bring in $100,000. What is human nature and what we tend to do in America is we tend to then elevate our standard of living.
Sure.
When we start having more money, instead of going, okay, wait a minute, I don't want to change anything. I just want to I'm going to take this excess and I'm going to pay debt off, or I'm going to at least hold on to it and enjoy this little breathing room I have to take the financial strain off. But we typically don't do that. We're like, okay, I'm going to, let's do the major house renovation, which again may be needed. Or somebody says, oh, if we're going to make this all the time, we can afford a bigger house, or we can afford a nicer car, or we can afford this. And again, we're bombarded with TV and ads and social media talking about the iPhone 14 that you have sucks. You've got to have a 17 or you're nobody. So individually, and it's a huge challenge because of our desire. We want it and we want it now. And so if credit card gives me the ability, I'm not going to wait and save up for a new car to put a large down payment that's not going to stretch me. I want it now. So there's that driver of the individual family. So when people say affordability, there's nothing that the government can do for that individual who chooses not to be disciplined and use their financial wisely. However, let me say this. One of the things is that people can point to the government and government policies is something that came out this time again. So there was a jobs report, and they always project how many jobs that they believe is going to come about. And so they were estimating that 70,000 new jobs, which is not overly robust, but they believe they were estimating 70,000 jobs would be created. Well, 130,000 jobs were created. So they're like, okay, that's a really strong report. But when you dig into that, there was two key factors that lets you know where the economy's headed. And one is inflation. Mm-hmm. And we talked about, what that looks like. And the Fed's target is 2%. That's almost no inflation. It's down to 2.4 right now. So that's very low inflation, considering some countries are battling 30, 40, 50% inflation. Yeah. But the real key, so that means is I need 2.4%. I'm losing 2.4% of my dollar value every year. Yeah. It's getting more expensive to live. But wage growth is exceeding that. It's at 3.7. Now, so you're like, okay, so there is genuine wage increase that's higher than it costs me to live. So all of that's very positive. The problem is it can affect in different sectors. So it could be in the construction sector. It can be in the transportation sector. It can be in different sectors where you're seeing this huge growth. I might be in a sector that's not seeing that. I might see jobs being lost in certain sectors.
And I think the healthcare, so we know, I think the healthcare sector was actually that sector that actually created a lot of work. And
another one, yeah.
And a lot of that had to do with obviously the change in the government. There's something on the top of the arc. Go ahead.
But look at that. But Tony, you and I both know this. If you, let's say, so I'll use an example when I was in the military. So I spent half my time enlisted, and then I went and got my commission and spent the second half of my military career as an officer. And part of that was I got promoted very fast up to staff sergeant. So I'd only been I just hit 5 years, and I was at East. I went from E1 to E6. Mm-hmm. However, I spent the next 5 years at E6 because I was in a career field that was not promoting very well to the next level. So I felt kind of stuck. Well, did you know that when you got into it? Did you know that at that point? I mean, or is it because was that indicative? I didn't know anything. My life was a mess. So I was just thankful to get in the Army. I
think I used to hang out with you in those days. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We probably crossed paths all the time.
Sure.
We're probably too drunk to recognize each other.
Probably.
But so I said, I'm going to change MOSs. This is before I went to officer candidate school. I said, I'm going to change jobs, even though I like my job, but I got to change jobs because I'm not getting promoted here. Well, I don't guess I did my homework very well because I just went one that was equally dead in there and still couldn't get promoted. So that's when I went to officer candidate school and said, hey, if I'm going to make a career out of it, I want to do the best I can, make the most money, whatever, for retirement. So having said all that, if I'm in a sector that's going down and it's not producing, and right now when people are looking out, going into college and looking in their future, they're like, okay, this job's not going to be around in 10 years because of AI, or it's going to be reduced, or it's going to change. So I'm going to go into sectors, or I'm going to change my life and go into a sector that can give me the income that I want. But there's a lot of people, look, and I'm not saying it's a character flaw, but there's a lot of people say, I don't want to move from my hometown. I've lived in my hometown my whole life. Okay. Well, if you do that, if you choose to do that, then you also have to understand you're accepting responsibility for where you are. So there's a lot of personal things that go on that affect an individual's ability to make what they make or have a life of affordability. But then there's also legitimate things that the government can do. And at least right now, things are trending, I think, in a positive way for the president. I think, with the tax cuts that were made permanent and some other things like no tips on taxes, those kind of things, the projection is that the average person is going to see more, about $1,000 more return in their in income tax refunds if everything's the same. So
I'll be interested to see. We've gone through this tip thing since COVID. And we felt bad for all of our servers. They were losing their jobs. They had nowhere to work. And so they had these COVID things and the COVID jars. And I remember saying, I was like, please help me. We had to cut our staff back. We can only sit 14 people instead of 38 people. I got all that. And we ponied up. We're like, we had people dropping $10, $15, for a $10 meal. And then we got to the point where we're going through the drive-through at Starbucks and they have a tip jar. And I'm like, I'm going through the drive-through.
Yeah.
Or the worst part is now with the credit card thing, before they'll take your credit card, you must answer the question, do you want to leave a tip? And you feel those eyeballs looking at you every time you do that. And thank goodness some of them are just like $1. I'll just leave $1 for the sake of leaving something. Even at Domino's, for God's sakes, I'm getting carry out at Domino's and they're asking me for a tip. And I'm like, something's just not right here, but they make it.
There's definitely tip fatigue every time you turn around.
So now that we know that these people aren't getting taxed on their tips. And in a lot of cases, now I don't know how many people out there who are getting $50 tips from one individual. I know people that I used to drop a 20 to my waitress every time I went out to, say, the Cajun Steamer. And I know it went in their back pocket. That's fine. I don't know how many of those people were actually doing their taxes,
claiming that
anyway, because it was cash. I know when it's on a credit card, but now that you're not getting, I just wonder if that tip thing is going to fall off a little bit. I just went off the road a little bit there, but I thought that was interesting because there are going to be some people making a lot more money because. Well,
and I'll tell you something else too. When people talk about tax policy, when you look at every state, so the federal taxes apply across the board. And they're very progressive in that the more you make, the higher percentage you pay. But something very interesting happened after the Super Bowl. So when you have a contract, Sam Darnold had the contract with Seattle. But when he went to California, his pay got taxed because that's where he was at the Super Bowl. So he makes, I'm not going to get the number exactly right, but let's just say he got $170,000 bonus for getting to the Super Bowl, but he got taxed at that game $240,000
because it was in California.
Because he was in California, and so that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing you're seeing right now. I mean, California's historically been very high tax, and of course, blue states are going to be higher tax than the red states. But I will tell you this: we've talked about Mayor Mondami, and he's a diehard socialist. He admits that that's not a pejorative. It's just who he claims to be.
Sure.
And his answer to everything is, well, we're going to tax the wealthy and make them pay their fair share. Well, IRS data already shows that the top 1% pay 50% of all federal taxes, period. And each state is different. So, the question is always, what's their fair share? Well, what he's learning is, and people told him this, but already, and California's learning this, that California has lost $1 trillion of income by billionaires leaving and relocating other places, and millionaires and billionaires. And so I think New York's already finding the same way, which is finding out like when you tax people of means, I mean, I think they already feel like if I'm paying 50% of all the taxes, and there's tons of Americans who don't pay any federal tax, they pay it throughout the year, but they get it all back on net, they don't pay into anything. Well, those people also have the ability to move when they want to, move up business headquarters and all that. And it's a lot of, when you get into politics, the term is class politics. I remember when AOC, when she first came into Congress, she was screaming about the tax breaks Amazon was getting to come in and was going to bring 2,500 jobs to her location, good paying jobs to the Bronx. And the question was, she didn't even understand that this was money in the future. It was an incentive to come there. They didn't give her all that money up front. And she's like, why didn't you take that money and give it to so-and-so? And they're like, we're bringing 2,500 good paying jobs. Those taxes are now going to be paid into this community. And so they just gave us an incentive to move it all there. And she kept pushing that class envy politics or whatever, bashing them.
And where is she living and what is she driving?
She's in exactly. And so Amazon said, screw it, and canceled the deal and went away. So you can see there's just so many things. And most of us are just, hey, I get up, I go to work, I try to work, I try to make a good living for my family. Yeah. And I want to do it in a way that I can, honor God, but just have some breathing room from month to month. So I understand individuals' frustrations and their challenges. And they want a government who feels like that they don't always have their hand in their pocket because they're having a hard enough time to make it themselves.
And we will be honoring God in our next show and our next endeavor. I'm so happy that we're going to have this announcement coming up here, 101.1 The Truth, which is the biggest stick in the state. We're going to start on March 2nd, 5 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. You ready for prime time?
Yeah, we're gonna have a link to be able to. My understanding is we're gonna have a link so people can listen to it online.
Everything you want,
and we're gonna load it into our podcast so you can access it through the TKR.
You can watch it. You can watch it. You can hear it live wherever terrestrial radio. You can be in your car, whatever. You can get it wherever you want. You're gonna be able to find it. It's gonna be easy to find. We're gonna have little snippets. We're gonna be on Facebook and we're gonna be on X. I'm not doing the TikTok and the Instagram thing because I don't really think that hits our market. But info@missionmindradio.com, info@missionmindradio.com. That's going to be our website. If you want to drop any email questions, you can always go to info@tonycurryradio.com as well. We take your email questions, particularly for this show, but info@missionmindradio.com, missionmindradio.com is going to be our website, but get on there. And, I know after, we got Bite by Bite coming up here, you and I are going to have a little discussion. We got some really, really exciting, cool things. This is almost like a second career for me. It's a calling. I am truly on a mission from God. We are the Blues Brothers. We will take our glasses off before we start, and we do have a full tank of gas.
I got to be honest with you. I don't know that I can dance or sing as good as they can, but
I'll play John Goodman. How's that? But yeah,
John Belushi,
or
John Goodman.
No, John Goodman was in number 2. He was in Blues Brothers too. He took over. No, I don't want to play John Belushi's because he's dead. I don't want to play that John. I'll play John Goodman. He's still alive. No, I don't want to play that John Belushi part. No, unless we're talking about remaking Animal House here in the radio, but I don't think we're doing that. It's super exciting. Make sure you're listening up, and of course, we're going to be blessed to have an opportunity to do this through Crawford Radio and everyone else involved. And we got just some really cool things that we're going to be part of this. We definitely want to be a situation where we're giving back to the community, and we're working to do a lot of those things as well. And I cannot think of a better person to do it with than a guy that obviously is the CEO of the Heart of Alabama Food Bank. So it's right here in our back pockets and our backyards, and I greatly appreciate that. All right, we got Bite by Bite coming up here next. We'll do it again next week. I want to get into next week. I'm going to write this down because I always forget. I want you to explain to me what in the heck these data centers are all about and why people are freaking out about taking a bunch of woods and turning them into the giant factories that are empty, that just have a lot of computers taking up all of our power. What is this? Why do we have to have it? Are we paying enough for it? Is it bringing jobs? Is it not bringing jobs? Is it taking jobs? I got a wonderful computer right here that I can go on any site I want. Why do I have to have something the size of a city block to get AI? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Michael, give us thoughts on that coming up next week. So you got a little homework to do, my friend.
Sure will.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk next week.
All right, my friend.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.